Strong Families webinar series, Staying Strong and Positive for Ourselves and Our Children. It is 11:58 and I see several participants popping into the participant number. And if you are joining, feel free to pop into the chat and let us know where you're joining us from. I always like to see that. Hey, Tammy from Pennsylvania, and we'll give folks another minute, and then we'll get started. We'll continue in our vitality journey this quarter, and this week our journey through financial vitality. Hello, Tandra from LA, and Andrew from Minnesota. I know you. I've heard of you. Crystal from DeKalb. I've heard of her too. Welcome. Feel free to join in. We are, and Annette from Chicago. Well, we're right in the same neighborhood then. Well, maybe not the same neighborhood. I'm a suburban guy now. Actually, I've been a suburban guy for a while. I don't know how that happened, but it did. Thank you for that reminder, Andrew. If you're posting in the chat, please select the drop-down menu for all panelists and attendees, and welcome Paula from Verdon, Illinois. I don't even know where Verdon, Illinois is. So I'd like to know if you have the the willingness to share where Verdon is. We'll check it out. And we're going to continue the conversation today. We're talking about financial vitality all week. That's our topic for these conversations. And today's topic, called it Small Steps to Big Dreams. Don't want to overstate the title. It feels a little bit like, the chorus of an 80s song, or maybe Michael J. Fox vehicle. But it's actually true, and I'm going to be interested in sharing some of my experience on small steps, and for me, and how I think about financial vitality, and a little bit here, a little bit there. Near Springfield, thanks for that. And Asante, welcome from New Jersey. Like, that's kind of how I have to think about things. And I'm a finance guy here at Be Strong Families. I serve as our chief operating officer. So I don't know, sometime over time, my mind melded towards details. So I'm always looking at little things, and I'm the kind of guy that picks a penny up off the ground and thinks to myself, if I could collect 100 more pennies, I'm going to have $1. I don't know why. So I pick up that penny and I go, well, I got 365 days to earn a free $1 this year. But anyway, so we're going to have a talk. But before we get into that, let's check in on ways to engage. So this is not unusual to many of you, but you are. We will hopefully have opportunities to connect today. I want to invite anybody to jump in and raise their hand if they'd like to share a particular comment or experience using your voice. If you're ready to do that, just press the raise your hand comment. The basic idea is, if you have your phone muted, before we unmute you, then we could prevent one of those wild unmuting sound pushes, whatever that is. That the technical term? Sound pushes. And then you can unmute yourself and speak. We'll try to get to everybody, so please take your time. Thank you. That is a technical term. But we can chat and connect throughout the webinar. That's what the chat feature's for. I already mentioned all panelists and attendees. You want to select that down. That way everyone could see what you're saying. I can see what you're saying, but if you don't select attendees, not everybody can. So let's also then check in on our agreements for our webinar today. We always try to speak from our own experience. We're using I statements. Our golden rule, treating other people the way you would want to be treated. Every voice, every comment is valued and valid and appreciated. So let's welcome that into the fray. And hi, Brandon and Kimberly are on. Welcome. And please bring your full presence. We're only here for about 30 minutes today, talking, interacting to the degree that we can. So, hey, put aside your phone, and bring your full presence if you can. Try not to multitask. Um, Thank you. And I see many folks are agreeing, and they're agreeing. So we're talking about the domains of vitality the next couple months. And this week, focusing clearly on, or specifically on financial vitality. So what we define financial vitality is that is about feeling secure in your capacity to meet your needs in the material world. So it's the dollar sign, it's money, but it's how are you feeling around meeting your needs. So when we talk about questions around this domain, it's generally about building financial security, and by looking at what those stressors are, from the financial sense, that kind of that weigh on us a little more. So focusing on building financial security by understanding and reducing stress in our life and our relationships associated with money through planning. And there's all kinds of questions around financial vitality in our Vitality Cafe decks, and if you've been to a Vitality Cafe. um, but I think today, like the title said, we're going to focus a little bit on financial resilience, and kind of what we've done or what we can do, little by little, to make ourselves feel better about our financial vitality. um, why don't we move on to the next slide, and we'll just kick in here. This isn't a content presentation, but when I was talking with Kathy about hosting one of these webinars, I couldn't help but reflect back to a webinar that I attended in this series, yes, back on May 14th of 2020, so almost a year ago now. And it was presented by a board member of ours, named Ken Krantz, who also works at Ameriprise. Some of you may have been a part of that. And if you're interested, Andrew posted a link to the recording of that, and he also did a follow up, I think, in July. But the reason I wanted to reflect back on that, because it was kind of a step for me listening to that webinar and starting to do just a few like little things to help build my financial resilience or strengthen my financial vitality. So I shared this slide because it was something he included there around financial resilience, and he called it the ability to withstand life events that impact one's income or assets. And so he'd mentioned these like areas to think about when we're talking about our financial resilience. Tracking and reducing spending, of course. Tracking and reducing, god, reducing, that's the hard part. Reducing or eliminating debt, making more money, of course, or creating multiple streams of income, creating an emergency fund, and fostering your relationships. Um, and he reflects that around not just people that can loan you money, but I think it's the emotional support and advice. And for me, I think it's also being open and honest about the challenges that that I've experienced, that I'm still experiencing or working out now, or that we all have when it comes to finances and managing our home. um, and being willing to kind of be open about it with family, with friends, and share. And um, so these were like 5 items, and he mentioned some things on the webinar too, and I included some slides about those if you want to reference those towards the end or after this discussion. But I was happy to say, when I was reflecting on this and preparing for this topic, that I've built some financial resilience this year, to the point that I'd never really done before. So um, or at least I feel good about it. I mean, I'm not, out there buying Bentleys and throwing $100 bills out the window, but I feel better about myself, and that's really cool. And I think that filters into some of the other uh, domains of vitality. So why don't we move on to the next thing and start talking a little bit. Um, and I'm going to put this out there. Hi, Brenda from Illinois. Got a few Illinois folks here today. That's cool. Um, Reflecting on the past year It's been, a year. How would you describe your financial vitality now compared to last April? Has it changed or stayed the same? Um, what's been the difference for you? And I'm going to, put that question out there. It's open for anybody. I invite anyone to raise their hand and share. Of course, Andrew, feel free to pop in if you want to talk about it. But um, while I'm waiting for anyone to respond or hopefully jump in, I guess this was kind of my process, kind of going through there. Um, I would say my financial vitality last year, um, it was, I wouldn't say teetering, but I feel like I was more um, going from check to check. I didn't really have much of a plan. Um, I was in a position, I continued working, so that's a legitimate, issue this past year. Some of us weren't able to continue working or maintaining a pace, maintaining that pace that we had been used to, and then having to manage, areas. So I'm seeing some comments. So before I even jump into more of what I'm talking about, thank you, Brenda. Yeah, it's finally getting better after a rough year. It's been like that for so many people too. Um, and I've certainly appreciated the resources that have been made available to us as Americans, um, and that didn't always do the trick for everyone. Andrew shares, I think I've been spending more money in the last year, but that's because of being in a time in my life when I'm moving and getting settled in married life. Oh, well, you're getting married? Oh, say goodbye to your money. No, that's just a marriage joke for those married. Um, I feel like I've been spending more money, but it's been an intentional way, and I'm being strategic about those purchases. Definitely. So yes, you've invested in a new home. Andrew's joining us from a new home. That's really exciting. And Tamara, in the past year, I've had areas in which I've been able to cut expenses such as gas to commute for work. However, other areas such as our food bill have increased in the past year. Both have been effects of COVID. Yeah, totally. I had a huge reduction. That's one way when I'm thinking of the last year. And if you were in a position where you didn't have too much impacting your day to day, it really slowed things down for me. So where you're buying gas because you need to drive. But wow, did that go down? I'm also reflecting on it might have been around this time last year. There was like a week where the gas prices were so low, but it was noticeable how I was saving on gas and how few miles I was putting on my car. And even still, that's continued. A lot through this year, even though I'm driving more. And then the food bill, yeah. I think I started spending more too, eating out, like or getting. I was eating a lot of fast food, especially early on, and that was bad. But what I've really liked in recent months is I've been talking with my wife Erica about this. Like my favorite success story is when everything we get at the store, like we get, I don't know about how you do it, but we've buy whatever are going to be our entrees for the week, and then sometimes you don't feel like cooking, and then every now and then the chicken turns or something. But I always feel really successful in my grocery shopping when I'm able to consume all the things that we get at the store and then eat the leftovers. It's like I feel like I'm saving money. Um, Mine is better. Jennifer says mine is better because I had more time to reflect during the shutdowns and change spending habits. Oh, that's Jennifer Johnson. I know her. Um, Brandon Hunter says our financials have been great since last year. It gets better for us. Thanks for sharing that, Brandon. I'd love to hear a little bit more about what you're doing too. Um, and that's open invitation to anyone. Um, and I'm just going to read this other one. There's all kinds of messages I got to get to. My financial vitality has been all over the place, says Dana, living in chaos constantly. I'm in the process of getting divorced, and he had complete control of our finances prior to the split. I've been thrown in the deep end, and I'm just trying to stay afloat. That is that's a legitimate challenge, and gosh, there's a lot of things, a lot of stuff attached to that. I having had gone through a similar experience, although it's been, gosh, seven. Can I actually have been divorced 16 years? But yes, I have been. I'm remarried, but I've been divorced. It's a lot to take on, and especially to the degree that we can at least feel more comfortable and safe and stable in our finances. It can help. Um, for me, and I got other messages to read. For me, if I'm not feeling financially stable or safe, it kind of throws off other areas in my life too. Like, I don't want to be as social. I don't really want to hang out. Um, and I hold on to a lot of that fear when it comes to finances, maybe due to worse times, but or I don't want to like drill it down to this, but also there's, as a man, as a father, I feel there's always some pressure, and it's pressure for everyone. So I'm not trying to say it's only men, but I know that like as a man, there's some additional pressure that's always been put on, or it's felt there. Maybe I've put it on myself, regarding, like what I need to do for my family, or like to be, stand on my own, and those types of things, that pride factor, which also kind of connects to that ability to be open and honest about challenges and asking for help. Crystal, true though. My financially has been my although so Crystal's got a good point. Her financial vitality is much better since being single, and I remember that too. I was really able to at least control what I can control. Thanks for that comment, Crystal. Annette says it has changed. Last year spent more by ordering by mail due to COVID. Now not ordering as much compared to last year. Oh, for sure, for sure. Um, and it also helped that I was able to save on toilet paper last year because I couldn't buy any. No, um, I remember that being. I remember going to the stores and seeing the toilet paper being gone, and even buying some off of Amazon. Brandon shares, so our financials gotten better for me and my wife. Tamara, yeah, I was hoping those gas prices would stick around, but they have not. And she shares that resonates with me as well, Guy. I think, okay, talking about just kind of the fear that I associate with trying to like stay stable. Feeling fearful financially definitely affects other areas of vitality, though we live paycheck to paycheck. I've been able to avoid the fear most of the time. I've worked hard to replace the fear with faith that we will somehow always be okay. And isn't that always kind of how it works too? You are always going to be okay. Brandon shares we don't eat out as much, we don't eat out much, that keeps us from using too much funds. We save much more money. I don't shop as much as I used to do, and I don't shop online. Well, one thing I could say is that I do a great job of not shopping. That could be a gender thing too in some cases, but man, I just hate shopping. But thank you for those comments. So I was thinking about the last year, and I was thinking about some of the resilience, um, financial resilience topics that that Ken brought up. I think one in particular was, I started contributing to in my IRA account, which I had never done before. And they always like whenever you talk, it's so not sexy, but when you like ever talk to a financial advisor, like they're always going to say, like, you're always like, hey, how can I, make $1 million? Not that I'm even close to that, but the first thing they always say is like, well, the safest investment is, and the best investment for your money is contributing to your retirement accounts, because you can contribute money before taxes. So you're saving, that money is going directly to an account. It's not being taxed. The money that you're taking home gets taxed a little bit less because you've reduced it. And I knew that, but for this year, I think again, it was like slowing down. I made a commitment to just a little bit, adding a little bit to my IRA account every pay period. And then, that carried forward. I enjoyed how that looked. So when I got to the new year this year, I added a little bit more. So I felt great about that. Just doing that made me feel really good at April, this time last year, or May. Um, he had mentioned also, like, I've always wanted to get into investments, but I'm not really smart when it comes to investments. Or I just don't have a business degree. I always would, watching Wall Street, I'd be like, wow, that is, how do people do that? And I know all these people that are in that field, and I'm wondering how they pay attention to it. While I'm probably just watched The Karate Kid too much. But he mentioned some tools. There are some online apps that really kind of allow you to dabble a little bit. And one was, what you probably have heard of, is called Acorns. And that is, Acorns is an app you can download in the store. And I guess the whole point is that what it does is it sets it up so that your literal change, from, if you spend 560, it'll round it up and put 40 cents towards an investment account. And it seems small and significant enough for me that I'm like, you know what, I'm going to open one of these just for the heck of it and see how it can grow throughout the year. So I did that, and I opened up just putting little bits of change, and I made a couple of larger contributions based on another strategy I used. But I'm here a year later, just making $5 donations at a time, because it rounds up when it gets to $5 and it puts it in your bank account. And I've got a little account that's over $1,000 just from a little bit of that every month. And God, and then, like, the groceries, we already talked about that, and keeping the expenses down and really looking at how those expenses would work. But then I also, and this kind of bleeds into the environmental vitality, and this has been more recent for me. But looking for, selling things that I have around the house that are just sitting around. Um, and I was able to do some of that. So that's been kind of the difference, willing to make some of these changes. Why don't we move on to the next slide? And if anyone else wants to share, please do. I want to just mention, Sylvia says, my financial vitality is better now, and I feel more organized than I've been contributing to my Roth IRA since 2019. And I have also paid off all my debts except for my mortgage. Sylvia, me and you are on the same path. You and I are on the same path. In addition to those little investment things I mentioned, I have made a concerted effort towards reducing and eliminating debt. And I still have a ways to go. Man, did I dig myself a hole. But I can see light at the end of the tunnel. And after a year, I'm looking at these balances that went from, almost maxed or just a little bit I could rely on every month if I needed to feeling like I've got some breathing room. Like, if my furnace goes out, I'm not sitting there, obsessing about paying for it. And that happened to me twice in January. So that's good. How is financial vitality related to happiness? Here's some other questions to think about. What makes you, or would make you, feel financially secure? Can you describe one small change you can make or have made to improve your financial vitality? I think we've heard a few comments already related to this, but I don't know, this kind of steps back to that fear issue. But, like, when I feel my financial vitality is balanced, it just makes everything feel better. So I mentioned the environmental. I've got so much. I wouldn't go as far as calling myself a hoarder, but I probably am a hoarder to a degree. I just see value in things, that maybe had emotional attachment to me and stuff like that, or things I paid for in real time. And I'm like, oh, that thing is worth this. I have trouble throwing it away or giving it away. So what I've been doing is making that concerted effort to kind of gather that stuff and sell it. this was a depressing moment for me a few months ago, but a very positive one, maybe about 5 months ago, when I gathered up my old Sega. I had a Sega Master System video game system, and I had three Atari 2600 systems. Now I know people are got to be old enough to know what some of these are, but basically old video games. And I found someone that wanted to buy them all, and I just said, "Okay, I'm selling it." And I sold it, and I got some, some money, a few $100. And then what did I do with it? I put it in that little Acorn account to kind of like help it grow fast, because I felt it was like found money. Um, but it made me feel happy in a couple ways, because I made some money. Thank you, Julia. You know what they are. You've heard of those. Because I made a little money, but I also did a little contribution, like it kind of built up everything. I made a little money, made a contribution, and reduced junk. So I have an extra plastic bin to put more junk in now. But that I'm still trying to do things like that, but I can't seem to find anybody that wants to buy my 21 Jump Street best of episodes. And yes, Julia Clark, you played Pac-Man at the arcade. Um, I love Pac-Man at the arcade, and Miss Pac-Man. I was more of a Miss Pac-Man guy. So let's think about these questions too. If you got anything to say, we've only got a few minutes, so this time runs so fast. Let's go to some other questions maybe. How does your financial situation affect how you see yourself? How does your financial vitality affect other areas of vitality in your life? This is kind of like what we've been talking about. So for me, environment's a big piece of it. And when I'm looking at clearing my environment, I'm wearing dollar sign glasses, because I don't even care if I sell it for $5 or $2 or something here. I'm trying to make a little dough while clearing some space. And then, also contributing to with the Salvation Army here, or places like that, if I can't get rid of some stuff. But I'll tell you, I'll share another story with you, as I'm not seeing some comments here. I tried doing um, some environmental vitality clearance by looking at old baby stuff. So I've got my son's stroller here, and it was like one of those. It was an expensive stroller. I'm not even going to go into what it cost, but it was one of those expensive ones. um, and I went to this. There was a store. And it's a national chain, I think. And they will buy back your your baby stuff. And I was like, okay, well, let me see what this looks like. I don't have much. I've given a lot of stuff away, all the clothes I've been, passing on to friends and stuff like that. But I had this major stroller, and I thought, well, maybe I'll get something for this. And then I brought a bunch of other stuff. And, I probably gave him like 20, 30 items and this stroller with a bassinet unit you could stick in. It wasn't a car seat unit, but it's a bassinet unit. And they offered me $22 for the whole thing. I'm saying, give me it all back. I'm like, I cannot give you this for $22. I'm going to just wait till I have a grandchild of my own. That's my point. Let's see. Dana shares, I've been really floored by the sheer amount of stuff we have. God, yes. And how much time and money I've spent collecting it, storing it, and cleaning it. I know that is what I'm feeling. I know I don't want to get too much into the environmental, but maybe you can turn that into some money. That's what, like, I have a friend who's very active on Facebook Marketplace, so active that I feel like I see him selling and bartering and trading things, 2 or 3 times a week, and that's what inspired me with the video games. But that's like what I'm thinking. It's like, if I can you're going to have to put some effort into, you know, looking at what you have and tagging it. But then as long as you don't want too much for it, you can get rid of it really quickly. And you can meet at the police station at your local place, so it's safe, because you don't know who all these people are. Jennifer started listening to Minimalists podcast. Help me with this theme of environmental and financial improvement. You're so right. Yes. I don't know if I'll ever get quite there. I'd like to get there. I'd like to be very minimal, but also I have this like passion for 70s and 80s stereo equipment. I don't know why, but I have a lot of old, like, have a couple old 8 tracks here, and I look at those and I think to myself, how can I throw this away? I mean, nobody has these anymore. But my colleague Jahira has said it's okay for me to sell 2 of the 3 VCRs that I still own. It's nothing wrong with it if it brings me joy, Jennifer, but I guess I'm thinking to myself, is it really bringing me joy? It's not. It's actually like heavier. So the minimalist mindset is where I want to move. Not sure I have anything to sell off. We moved from Rhode Island to Pennsylvania at the end of 2019 with just the belongings that would fit in the Mazda 3. I don't miss all the stuff one bit. Yes, see, that's where I'd like to be. And Tandra has been embracing minimalism for 3 years. It is freeing, no doubt. Yeah, we're definitely kind of stretching into that. So, gosh, we're like just at time. So let me just run through a couple things here that I put here. I just put some resources for credit and budgeting that Ken had shared in his webinar, and Andrew might pop in some links. But again, this will be available. As you can see at the bottom, acorns.com. I mentioned that Robinhood. I didn't get into this, but I even set up a little Robinhood account and bought small amounts of stock just to mess around to a point where I didn't feel like I was risking anything, and I could kind of try to build up my knowledge a little bit. But just some resources to think about around debt relief, around budgeting and cash flow, and reducing debt, and being aware of your credit score. If you can move on. And this was just some financial vitality homework if anyone wishes to kind of think about building their own resiliency and making some small steps. And the homework then and the homework now was creating a financial family strategy or plan for the next 3 months. Thinking about what are your resources, what's coming in, what's going out, what are your expenses, some of these things around power of attorney, just life things that you might need to have in place so that your spouse and children are protected. Um, what are the opportunities right now? Like, are there little things here and there? Where can you find other financial resources, and who can you rely on to share resources with? So just an open invitation to think about growing your financial resilience this week and every week. Um, and you can join us as we continue to talk about financial vitality. I know this session goes quick. I didn't see anyone raise their hand, but I had a great comments from everybody in there. We also we have sessions like this the next 2 days. They're about 30 minutes, and then Friday we have a financial vitality cafe. It's a little longer, an hour, and you can kind of talk about these types of questions in a cafe environment. And here are the next 2 topics for the next 2 days. Thank you, everyone, for your participation. If we can move to the last slide. And yeah, replenish yourself with some of our vitality resources if you're interested. Our Vitality Cafe in a Box, our Recovering Together Cafe in a Box that's organized around these domains, and our poster series, which is some really beautiful art around these domains. They look great around the house or at the office. So visit our website if you'd like to gather more. I want to thank you for listening and typing and sharing and laughing and crying or looking, whatever we were doing. But it's great to see so many familiar faces, and I didn't see your faces, I guess, but to imagine your familiar faces there, and even imagine faces that might not have been there. So, that's always possible. Again, I'm Guy Schingoethe. I'm with Be Strong Families. Thank you for your support. Thank you for being a part of this series.